And the defense rests. Day 31 of the Karen Read trial wrapped up on Wednesday, and the defense rested, and Hank Brennan said that he is not calling any rebuttal witnesses, much to my surprise. It's a great day for a great day. My name is Sydney Rushing. I'm a criminal defense attorney in the state of Michigan. Now let's talk about it. Witness number 11, Andrew Rentschler, who's part of ARCA, was back on the stand to continue his direct examination. With 5 minutes into the morning testimony, there was already a sidebar called and a lot of objections because Brennan did not like the way that Jackson was forming or asking his questions. Rentschler then said the focus of his investigation was to kind of see what happened and test the theory that he was given. He was asked if he reviewed Aperture's testing, conducted a biomechanical assessment of the injuries and what happened to John, including how his body was hit or if it wasn't. He said that John's body only had superficial abrasions and not lacerations, and this makes a big difference. He said that there was no indication of a broken bone in John's body. After determining the injury, he then went on and looked at the physical evidence. He said that there was 36 superficial abrasions in John's arm, but there was only 9 defects in the sweatshirt, as noted in Aperture's report. He said that these abrasions are not consistent with making contact to a taillight. And he said that John's body didn't have any broken bones. He said that he didn't think it was physically possible for the taillight pieces to move at a different speed than what John's body would have. Essentially, John couldn't have got to where he was prior to the taillight pieces going and being embedded in the ground. Talked about the test where the vehicle was going 29 miles per hour, hit the crash dummy mid-center, and it caused a lot of damage. He said that his opinion is that John's arm coming into contact with the taillight is inconsistent with their testing. He said he would have expected to see fractures in the hand and the lower arm, and as we know, there were none. Also said that there wasn't any bruising that would be consistent with being hit with a motor vehicle. Said he doesn't believe that John was hit center mass, and that he also doesn't believe it was possible for John to be thrown back 7 to 10 feet. And there's no research that would even support that. Their testing showed injuries to the lower extremities, and as we again know that John had no broken bones or injuries to his legs. He discredited Aperture's report, saying that the thing that they cited in there regarding the head being the most common injury was from 1979, and this was before even the modern SUV was even created. And he said that this was the only peer-reviewed article that was in their entire report. There was another sidebar. There was a ton of sidebars, actually, during this entire thing. Rentschler said that the biomechanical evidence is not consistent with John's arm being hit by an SUV, leading to falling backward and a strike to the head. It was a morning break. Then Brennan came up for a cross, and he started off with saying, "Facts matter." Brennan says, "You have no idea where the point of impact was in the collision." And Rentschler literally responded and said, "No one does. There's no evidence." Rentschler said that he didn't talk to anybody about Welter's testimony. When asked the most ridiculous question about whether he went to lunch after last year's trial with the defense team, he said, "I had a ham sandwich." And then Brennan followed up with, "Well, did you just eat and go stand in the corner?" He goes, "Yeah, as I was waiting for my ride." It was the most stupid kind of questioning that I think that Brennan's had, and it made him look like a fool. There was some combative back and forth between the two numbers that ARCA used in their analyses, and they were talking about whether injuries can be different from crash to crash. Rentschler said that he's never seen a case where you get these type of abrasions and kind of had a chuckle with it. And Brennan goes, "Is that funny?" And there was an objection, and Judge Cannoni said, "Mr. Brennan, no more comments. Stop that." He didn't really say stop that, but that's how it came off, you know? She would never say that to Brennan. Come on. In regard to Welter's paint test, he was asked if Welter was trying to reenact what happened. And Rentschler basically said that it would be a pointless test if you weren't trying to recreate what happened, that it would be meaningless. Brennan again made another comment-style response. There was a sidebar, and then the jury was sent off to lunch. Jurors came back from lunch, and there was a sidebar. The cross-examination continued, and Brennan had Rentschler agree that crash dummies shouldn't be used to test soft tissue injuries. He was questioned again about Welter's test and what Welter was trying to portray, and Rentschler said, "If you don't know that something occurred, then how can you conclude that something did in fact occur?" Ouch. There was another sidebar. Brennan then comes up and says, "You have no idea the angle of John's body as Karen's SUV was backing up on January 29th, 2022. Rentschler snapped back, "We don't even have any information that he was even struck by an SUV." And they talked about a debris field. He was then asked if while he was doing his ample study, of course, another Brennan side comment there, whether he looked at the taillight shard. It said that he was aware that there was debris in the yard, but that has nothing to do with the biomechanical analysis. If you can't prove an impact happened, then everything after that essentially doesn't matter, because all of that would be from something else. Brennan asked him who he thinks that put the taillight pieces there. Said, "I have no idea, I haven't seen any evidence." Brennan then tried to ask him if he had an idea about somebody planting evidence or a theory of that. He was objected and it was sustained. When asked if how John's body was standing that night, Rentschler responded, he doesn't know and nobody does. Brennan again was asking essentially how John's body had basically acted when it got hit, and he again said that he doesn't even believe that John's body was even hit at all. He said the piece of glass taken from John's nose was taken into consideration, but that it was entirely inconsistent with an impact coming from a vehicle. Then there was some redirect and recross, basically just pointing out again the same points that had already been made, except Brennan's recross ended with Rentschler saying, you can't deny the physics. Then the defense rested its case, and the jurors were sent home for the day. Closing arguments were scheduled for Friday morning. Brennan said that he won't have any rebuttal witnesses, and I am shocked. Now, is this because he thinks that the defense may, tear them up and they'll start looking less credible or something like that? Or is he kind of giving up and cutting his losses essentially? I'm not quite sure. Then there was argument about whether the PowerPoint should be admitted or not, and the charge conference will be heard on Thursday. And that is it, folks. That is all of the witnesses and all of the testimony and all of the evidence that we are going to hear in Karen Read's trial. Day 31 is over, and that's all she wrote. The court will be back in session with the jury on Friday as closing arguments are heard. The jurors will then be instructed. A few of them will be selected as alternates, and then they will be given the case to begin their deliberations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for following along. And here's your question of the day. Do you think that it was best for Brennan to not call any rebuttal witnesses, or do you think he had some cleanup to do and should have called some rebuttal witnesses? Let me know in the comments.